quite sought after and expensive. You can still see the fold lines. Can you see that down here? It was folded into squares because perhaps it was mailed out. I don't know that this one would have been because this is so local, but it's a big piece of paper, and the only way they didn't have mailing tubes back then, so stuff got folded. So old movie posters you'll see, because this is similar to a movie poster the way, this is 40 years before movie posters were really a big thing. But movie posters would get sent to the movie house, the theater, and then they'd be set in an envelope, and then the movie theater owner would open it up and paste it up onto the wall or the frame or wherever it was going to go inside the theater or outside of the theater. These were outside, and I believe inside as well. But this was something to advertise, the concert that for La Goulet, and I believe that is La Goulet right here. I think it's the male. Okay. Motion and activity. So we get into TV and we get into computers. Graphic design has to include motion. And like I said, that iPod ad, maybe some of you saw that some years ago. It was quite iconic. You could still Google that. Okay, processing is a programming language used to create videos. We're not too worried about that. Some artists have shifted into using graphic design as an art form. Now, I would just say that these people were trained as graphic artists. And a lot of times the graphic arts training gives you such a developed eye, like I was saying in the first video, or the first audio PowerPoint that you guys looked at. These guys are really highly trained. So if they decide to become artists, they have a pretty powerful toolkit to work from. So here's two examples. Barbara Kruger over here, and on this side, we all recognize this is Andy Warhol. Kruger, I believe, trained in graphic arts, and she is trying to set up an advertising. These were quite huge. This is 31 inches. But some of these were on the sides of massive big buildings. I remember a couple of them in LA. There was one at the Temporary Contemporary, which is now the Mocha Contemporary. It was massive, and I think they had a really hard time getting it off. The glue that they used was very powerful. But here she's using text. She's got this funny little shadow on the lighter one just to make sure it pops out. And she's a feminist, and she's doing this artwork to sort of comment on advertising and also how the female form is used in art and in advertising. So the male gaze is an expression that gets used, and that is one of the arguments about nudes in art, that they really were early pornography. So she's talking about your gaze hits the side of my face. She's talking about the objectification of the female form for advertising. That's her content there. She's also a text artist. I really like the way she puts her text, incorporates in the image. So then with Andy Warhol, he trained as a graphic designer for quite some time, and a lot of his images were not really much more than the exact replica of the item that would have been advertised almost exactly in this way. And also with the Brillo boxes, those are silk screened onto an actual box. So it's sort of like, okay, well, how is it not just advertising? But he's actually asking you to consider, the imagery in your world, and that how at this point we're into 68 and she's into 81 and beyond. But 68, we're really saturated with these images, right? We're post Mad Men or during Mad Men, if you think about it that way. We are saturated by all this advertising, and it is starting to affect our culture, and it's starting to affect the way we see things. So that's what Andy Warhol is pointing to, the fact that it is so pervasive. Okay? So a few more terms, you can look those over.